Hey guys, Tech Central here, and today I'm going to be reviewing, or pretty much commenting, on the Verge's $2,000 custom PC build. If you follow some PC build or tech content creators on YouTube, you're definitely going to see them react to this, or some of them will react to it, but I'm going to be commenting and suggesting things that you should not do that this guy did. So let's just hop right into it.
Go TC or Managing Editor built a gaming desktop, but it's kind of out of date and it's definitely not going to hold up for Battlefield 5. So let's build a new one. You can build a gaming desktop for around $1,000, but I want to...
You can also build it for cheaper, but $1,000 is a good amount to use.
Go all out, so I spent around $2,000.
That's not... $2,000 is not a bad chunk of change for a gaming PC.
PC like this is going to be able to play most games at ultra settings. So, what do you need to build a desktop? Well, of course, first you need a table.
What? I thought I could put it in midair, right? Alright, I can put it in midair. No. Guys, if you're going to build a computer or you do anything, please have a work surface. It's not going to be good if you build it on a floor because of static reasons.
Preferably not metal. If it's going to be metal, have an anti-static working surface laid on top of it.
Yes.
Thermal paste applicator, an Allen wrench.
Okay, so I'm just going to say one thing right off the back. I've never used an Allen wrench in any of my PC builds, so I don't know why you would need this, but I don't know why. But I would not recommend getting an Allen wrench if you don't have one. If you do, great. You're probably not going to need it. And if you don't have a thermal paste applicator, don't worry about it.
Some tweezers to tighten up the wires.
Most people don't know these as tweezers. They're zip ties. So, do not... Tweezers are those things that you use to, like, pull stuff out of skin. Also, like, they're good for pulling out small things. These are called zip ties. If you go to the store, you will not find these named as tweezers. They are zip ties.
A Swiss Army knife, which hopefully has a Phillips head screwdriver in it.
Oh, hopefully. You don't need a Swiss Army knife. Just get a screwdriver. Like, most people have at least just a normal screwdriver, Phillips head. That's all you need. You don't need a Swiss Army knife that hopefully has a screwdriver. Most Swiss Army knives is Swift. Can't speak now.
In it.
Most Swift Army knives usually do have a Phillips head screwdriver.
And last but not least, an anti-static bracelet, which is to protect you and the parts. These are the parts you're going to need.
Yep.
More.
Wait, that's not an anti-static bracelet because there's no ground wire. There's nothing actually connecting it. It's just like one of those bracelets that you wear to support someone who has cancer. That's not an actual anti-static bracelet. If you have one, use it. But if not, you can just touch your power supply.
More importantly, before we get there, we need to understand what these parts are doing and how they interact with one another. To better is like the foundation to communicate with one another, which also makes it kind of like a nervous system. Graphics cards are responsible for rendering and processing visuals into what you that helps show presets for which parts fit together, which sort of part conflicts you might have, and
yep, this is a good okay, this is one thing that I do recommend you use.
Where to find deals on new parts. We have a lot of boxes and a lot of PC parts, so it's best you unbox them.
Okay, why did you tear up the boxes? You can just open them like you can just open them cleanly. Also, guys, you guys do not need to unbox all your parts together. Do not actually, guys, if you guys have the room for it on your table, you can unbox everything. But but I don't recommend doing that. I recommend doing it step by step.
Isolate the parts that you really need, place items into the case, and make sure that they all fit, and then start working. And now we're really going to start building by adding the motherboard in. Some notes about installing motherboards: they're really delicate. You should be really careful with them. And
sort of
confidence, but also don't screw in too hard, otherwise you could crack the board.
I like this guy. Okay, this makes sense. Screw in confidently, but not too confidently where you're gonna break the board. That's true. But I would not put in the motherboard as your first step. The first step would to be unbox the motherboard, the CPU, the RAM or the memory. If you have any M.2 drives, CPU. So CPU, any M.2 drives, any memory for RAM, and then your CPU cooler. That is it at the beginning.
I chose ASUS Z370 motherboard for two main reasons.
It's ASUS Z3, not ASUS Z. Just
One,
saying.
it has built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and also...
Okay guys, I'm gonna say something flat out. Never pick a motherboard based on if it has built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, because some motherboards are good for gaming, some are not good for gaming. Just depends on what your PC is going to be used for. But please do not pick a motherboard based on gaming. I mean, based on Wi-Fi and Bluetooth.
So it has support for NVMe SSDs, meaning you can get really fast SSDs that are really easy to install. Pay close attention to the brace that goes at the back of the computer.
That's not a brace, that's called an I/O shield.
You always have to make sure that you really hammer it in, because there's no...
Please do not hammer in your I/O shield. Please do not. You're probably gonna break it. It's not meant to be hammered in. So far, this guy hasn't been telling you guys the best of info. It's not the best idea to do what he's doing. Guess let's keep going.
Screw, it really just has to go outside of the case and clasp onto the frame.
Pretty sure that's a clip.
And this is very important because otherwise you can't align the motherboard correctly with the holes. I'm just going to start installing all 8 screws.
Don't know why he has all
So
4
next
memory modules open yet.
I'm on the motherboard. I chose Corsair's 16GB Vengeance LED RAM for 2 main reasons. One, it has LEDs and...
Do not do that. Do not pick RAM off of having LEDs.
And we do like lights in our gaming desktops. Secondly, it's pretty fast RAM. It's 2666 megahertz.
That 2666 megahertz is fast for DDR3 RAM, but not for DDR4. DDR4 goes all the way up to 3600 megahertz, and I recommend if you're going to go to gaming desktop, you get 3200 megahertz or 3600. But if you can't, then try to get at least 3000 megahertz.
Hertz, I believe. So it's pretty fast, and this motherboard supports that speed, which is most important. Open the slots first and just align.
Okay, don't know why he's opening all 4 slots, because he only has 2 sticks of RAM. And whenever you're building, and if you only have 2 sticks of RAM, you only need to open up the 2nd and 4th slot.
Aligning the stick with the middle of the strip, not
Wait. Go back a little bit.
with the slots first, and just aligning the stick with the...
That does not line up with this. You're going to break the RAM. This pin needs to line up with this pin over here. It's very sort of faint, but you're going to break it.
middle of the strip, not with the end, and just lining that up with the logo.
They probably cut away. I
So
mean, they
once
cut
you-
away so you couldn't see that he almost broke the RAM.
Hear that solid clasp, and you don't see the gold connectors
Do you mean a click?
on the side anymore. That's when you know the RAM is in. Step 3, we're going to install.
Wait. Okay. Rip dual channel motherboard. Rip dual channel support on that motherboard, because he put in the 2 slots. He put the 2 RAM sticks right next to each other. You're supposed to put one in A2 and one in B2 on most motherboards. You're gonna want to read your manual if it has dual channel support, dual channel memory support.
The hard drive, or in this case, the NVMe SSD. I chose this format of solid state drive so that I could input it into the motherboard without having to worry about extra wires or putting it in a separate part of the case and just getting really messy. This is from Kingston, and it's 480 gigabytes, so it's not a lot, but you can always upgrade this and swap it out, and it's only held down by 1 screw and the latch, so it's really simple.
You're supposed to put a header there so the drive stays flat, not gonna go down at an angle.
Speed for gaming. is important when it comes to a hard drive. You want files to write quickly and you want games to load quickly, so that's why it's best if you use an SSD.
That's true.
Okay, so step 4, we're going to install the graphics card. I chose PNY's GTX 1080, which is old.
Okay, what happened to all your other parts? He still hasn't installed a CPU, guys. CPU's one of the first things you want to install before you put the motherboard in.
Overclock.
Just pointing that out.
Easy installation. You're just going to find the gold connectors, and you're going to line this bracket with the back end bracket.
That's true.
Of your PC case. Now, which lane you choose depends entirely on what other parts you're going to put in
Okay, that is false.
the system. I'm just going to.
You want to put it in the top because it has the most bandwidth and it makes your graphics card perform the best that it can.
Take the top one because
Or as best as it usually can.
Bottom, and I don't want to cover it. I just think.
Okay. It doesn't actually depend on that. It depends on. Yeah, just put it in the top slot.
Looks nice. Click down. Take your remaining brackets and just put them in the spots that you haven't used. You don't have to screw these in. They get bolted down by the back end bracket. And your GPU is installed.
Yep.
Power supply time. I chose Corsair's 850 watt power supply because I need enough headroom for ray tracing GPUs when they come out, and I don't want to have to upgrade it again. So all you have to do is take the brick and make sure that you align it with these little insulating pads. So
They're not insulating pads, they're anti-static pads. Actually, no, anti-vibration, so, like, your PC doesn't vibrate.
the power supply doesn't short circuit and come into contact with the rest of the system.
Also, what are you insulating against?
So just take it in, slide it in nice and easy until you have a snug fit, and then shift it to the back and make sure it's right.
The fan's supposed to be the other way. You're gonna suffocate your PC. Guys, do not do it this way. Put your fan on the outside, because you're probably gonna break. You're gonna like suffocate your PC and make it run so much hotter.
Now you just take the required screws and you tighten and screw in.
Oh no.
So next step, we're going to install the CPU cooler. In this case, it's going to go on the top end of the case, and we're just going to have the hose hang out for a little while.
Actually, I don't know if he installed a CPU. I don't think he did.
Until we install the processor, which is going to come a little later.
Okay.
Always make sure to try to place it in the system
I can see the table. Where are your fans? Where are your fans?
first before you install it, because you can see it takes up a lot of space. But in this case, no pun intended, it fits in perfectly, and we're going to start screwing it in. And so there's nothing special about this screwing in process. They're just really long screws because they go through the entire frame of the cooler, and they take forever.
No, they're extremely long screws because you're supposed to put your fan on the bottom so you actually cool down your PC.
So next up, cables. Every power supply is going to come with a big bag of Velcro cables.
Not every power supply is going to come with that because there's 3 different types. Fully modular or modular, which is what he got. Semi-modular, which already has some installed into it. And then non-modular, or like I guess fully complete. And you're not going to have any cables extra. It's just going to be one big cable mess.
It's kind of daunting at first, so you always have to find the ones that are going to fit. In this case, you need to match those cables with the correct descriptions on the power supply. Next,
I would recommend finding what cords you need and then plug them into the power supply before you put it in, because some cases are really hard to put the cables in after.
step is we're connecting the power supply to the motherboard with a 24-pin cable. We're just matching that cable from the motherboard, threading it through the back, and attaching the 24-pin header to the power supply so that we can have one of the connections complete. The next few additions will be for the GPU, for any specific ports that the case has, for any lighting that the case has, the CPU cooler, anything else really. We're installing the CPU, the heart of the computer, or the brain, depending on how you look at it. So to do this, we're just going to remove the plastic covering that they put on the motherboard. We're just going to take this little plastic part out.
You don't take it out. When you undo the latch that holds in your CPU, and you put your CPU in, that thing will pop off. Do not take it out.
Just toss that out of here.
Do not toss that out. if your motherboard breaks and you want to return it, well, you're not going to be able to because they want the CPU. They want that CPU cover on.
And now we have an exposed CPU holder, or rather slot, on the motherboard. And we're going to use the CPU applicator. This is a special little...
I've never ever used a CPU applicator because it just makes it so much more complicated. Just match the 2 white triangles and put them in. But don't apply any pressure on the pins. Just slide it in because you could break one and that will ruin your CPU. So just put it in gently and then put the latch on and you're good.
Part that not everyone may get, but this motherboard that we got from ASUS definitely does have. It's called a CPU installation tool. It makes it really useful if you want to install a Core i7 hexa-core CPU. Yeah, we've got one.
Okay, yeah, you got one of the rare CPUs. This is one of the most common CPUs you can find on Amazon, Newegg. You can probably find it at Microsend. You can find it at a bunch of main retailers, so that it's not that rare.
And it's an 8th generation chip, and it's ready to go, and it supports overclocking. So what
Please do not overclock your computer. You're gonna break it.
thing this little installer does for you is it's basically a brace that you can apply right to the CPU and light it up with the triangles that you'll see on the bottom left corners. And this will make it easier for us to apply it to the motherboard and then apply thermal paste and then apply a CPU cooler on top. And we're just going to
You do not need thermal paste because that CPU cooler already came with it.
Carefully
it's an AIO,
it down into the system and make sure that everything lines up, and we're going to clasp down on it and we'll be good to go. So we're about to apply thermal paste to the CPU. Every CPU cooler actually comes with a bit of
That is false. Some CPU coolers do not come with thermal paste and then you need to get extra. But in this case, this one does have it, but not all of them come with it. Just a heads up.
Thermal paste already neatly applied in a circle around it, but it's usually not enough. It's good, essentially PC building practice to have a little bit extra and layer it on top of the CPU. The final pour.
I don't know what you're doing. Most people, I don't know if that's like a new method or something, but whenever I'm using, if I'm going to use thermal paste, I just put a P dot, and then when I put the CPU cooler on it, it usually spreads it out, or just use the one on the AIO. But if you're going to do what he's doing and you apply thermal paste, most people use the P dot method. You put a small, like P dot size of thermal paste in the center of it, and then you wipe the thermal paste off the AIO or CPU cooler that came with it.
Portion is to add the CPU cooler to the top end of the...
I don't know why he put thermal paste, top of thermal paste. Do not do that.
Processor. So you're gonna see that there are 4 brackets, or rather like screws in here with brackets and holders right here, and they're going to keep the cooler raised off the processor.
He still hasn't fixed his RAM. I don't know why.
But it's also going to be close enough to actually physically come in contact with it, like basically keep it cool. Take
No, it's actually supposed to keep it cool.
Screws like this and just screw them on. So now that our internals are done, we're going to put all the panels back on, which is the top glass, side glass, front glass, and of course the back panel where all of this fun stuff is happening. So we fully built the PC.
Oh no. So you do not want your AIO, if you have one, this resting on it, because if the GPU makes too much heat, you could potentially burn the rubber in it, and then your entire motherboard will break.
Everything's put together, and we got to the post screen. So what's...
Wow, good job. I did not even think this thing would post at all.
Next? Well, you need a USB flash drive with your Windows installation media on it, and of course a license key. So I plugged that up, installed Windows in a couple of minutes, installed a bunch of drivers, and now we have a fully functioning gaming PC ready to run some games. Right now I've got Arma 3 running at maximum settings, native resolution, which is 1080p HD, and it's running pretty smoothly.
This runs very smoothly because it's not very intense game. You can motion, everything is blurred. All the background can be blurred because of motion blur, because you're going in and playing so fast, and all you really need to do is see your plane. That is it.
Like, I'm averaging 70 and 80 FPS, and this is normally like a very intensive game to run. And
No,
it's
not
still doing a
really.
pretty good job. So right now I'm playing League of Legends. It's one of my favorite games. I'm actually playing against a bot.
League of Legends can run on the probably the most horrible laptop. It's meant to be played on a bunch of different devices, so it's not very intensive. League of Legends is not a good benchmark game at all.
And I'm distracted, so I'm not actually doing so well. But otherwise, like, this is pretty much what you would see me do on a gaming computer. Test stuff out, and hopefully have really high frame rates like I am right now. I'm averaging 120 FPS, and that's only because I've actually locked it
You probably did it because your monitor doesn't support 144 hertz.
to that frame rate, because I can get around 300 FPS playing League on maximum settings, which is a little bit absurd, and you don't really need that, so I locked it. Building a gaming desktop has been a great experience. I'm able to max out a lot of my favorite titles, and I'll be able to play a lot of upcoming titles like Battlefield 5 and Cyberpunk 2077 without worrying too much about the parts I have. When ray tracing GPUs come out, for example, I'll be able to upgrade without having to buy a completely new system, and if I have a problem down the line, I can always just swap out a part and have it serviced rather than losing my whole computer. And of course now we also have a computer to test and benchmark.
Okay guys, so I'm gonna leave you guys off here. I'm gonna leave a link to multiple channels that have built a full computer review on plugging up everything, teaching how to do everything, and they do it correctly, or the way that I would do it. And yeah, so please follow the way they do it. Please do not build a PC this way, because you will probably break it in max a week or even a few days maybe. And Tech Central out.